It just tastes so bad. Ugh. Oh shit. This is the one that's supposed to go up the back end. Is that hair? Hey guys, today we're going to talk about Mario Tennis Fever. Sorry. Ugh. I need coffee. So, there's a couple things here that I think are really interesting. I'm going to be approaching this topic as a developer and also as a fan of Mario Tennis. I've got my 3DS here. After I saw the trailer, I had to boot up Mario Tennis on the 3DS again. I just enjoyed that stereoscopic 3D. So I'm going to explain some things from a developer standpoint. If you're interested in art or game development, I'm just going to explain a couple things here. A couple quirks that I noticed, some just fun quirks from a development standpoint. Let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to start here. I think I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going to say this is the Mario game that I'm most looking forward to. I know it probably sounds weird. My favorite Mario games are the Mario Tennis games. Here we take a close-up of Mario's cankles, and I didn't realize Mario had such thick cankles. I just never know. Have you ever sort of caught up with a friend and they looked really different for some reason, and then you realize they're wearing shorts and you've never seen them? You've known them for years and have never seen them wearing shorts before. And you feel weird. I feel like that right now. Those are some thick cankles. This is a pre-rendered cutscene. It's pretty dynamic with the angles of the camera movements, and then it's pretty smoothly transitions to gameplay here. Now, what I notice here, what I'm going to discuss at length, is the grass and the technique they use for grass there. And I'm just going to shrink myself down here a little bit so we can take a look at the environments a bit more clearly without me obstructing them. So I want to explain the technique they use for the grass here because I think it looks fantastic. Now, I had originally thought, oh wow, they're leveraging the power of the Switch 2, and oh, okay, genuinely my mouth does taste funny, I think. Oh, I didn't like that at all. That was a bad bit. I thought they were leveraging, they're high resolution, lots and lots of blades of grass, but it's actually a much simpler technique than that, and I think it's really neat. So, something that we do notice here, though, that I really like, and I don't think I've noticed this in other Mario Tennis games before, is the ball is actually squished. When they hit the ball, they use squash and stretch to convey a sense of speed and power. So the ball is actually squished as it's traveling. It's a bit harder to see it, but you can see as it slows down, it returns to a normal shape. I think that's very interesting. It's details like this that I do enjoy seeing in games. Let's see if we can pause it at just the right time here. You can see it was stretched just there, and then it returns to shape after it's hit. It's hard to tell, but it's little details like that that I think, they're interesting, and it shows me that the developers are considering these things. So this is interesting. They're not using highly complex detailed grass. What they are using is a simple ground texture that is just very noisy. The grass is very noisy in that there's a lot of noise and detail to it, and it uses harsh contrasts so it conveys a sense of shadow and highlights. You can actually see the ground texture here, and they use that in combination with a low poly count model for the grass, so it's probably being rendered, through some shader on the GPU or something. Well, actually, no, I don't think so, because we see it being called quite closely. It's interesting. I'm really wondering exactly how they implemented that. But you can see on certain blades of grass, it's darker towards the bottom. Well, in all of them, it's darker towards the bottom and then lighter towards the top. This is something that you can use with vertex data. You can set the color of the vertex so this grass does not need to process lighting in real time in a complex way. It's probably just picking up ambient lighting, but they can afford to have tons and tons of it. And they have it cut at the top, so it makes it look like the grass has been mowed, and it's cut in a certain way, so it doesn't look like, say for example, Breath of the Wild, where the grass is just growing wild and it's quite tall and pointy at the end. And this is such a neat way to implement that. We're going to have a couple close looks at it as well, but it's implemented in such a way where it breaks up the shadows of the characters. It looks so interesting, and this grass looks fantastic at distance. Something that we see here is the crowd is all 3D models here until we get to a certain point. Back here, these here look like a billboard. These here are assuredly billboards. They are not 3D models. They are flat 2D quads and they just have a picture of the audience member. I believe that they are using transform animations. They're using squash and stretch, the basic animation on the transform, you know, the root object that is holding these, so that way they don't actually have to have that many frames of animation. What they're doing is squashing and stretching the root object so that it looks like they're bouncing and it looks like they're lively, but really it's just a flat picture of a character. Now we're going to explain a little bit more fully why they are using 3D models for the front here. I was just playing a quick match on the 3DS for the Mario Tennis there, and it's all billboards. There's not that much rendering budget for 3D models on the 3DS, but it's higher than you think it is. As a 3DS developer, there were some aspects where I was able to push the 3DS in a way where I thought I did not think it would be able to handle that much in terms of polygons, but the 3DS, surprisingly stronger than you think it is. Oh, you see the squish there. The ball is squished when it hits the ground. Very cool. I like that. At this particular distance, you can see the combination of the grass. Oh, interesting. You can see lines here. Wow. Okay. You can see sort of lines of the grass, but in combination with the very simple models for the grass, the noisy texture with the harsh shadows, it makes it look organic. It creates a sense of fuzziness and organic variation and organic imperfection. Those are things that visually make games look interesting. In real life, we have organic variation. We have organic imperfections. If you turn off this video, walk outside, find the nearest patch of grass, you will see organic variation and organic imperfection, and that our eyes want to see that when it comes to natural things like this, and it looks interesting. Though this is, I had not noticed this. You can see the straight lines of the grass in the way it was populated. I'm interested in that. That's weird. a little interesting. Now, on some of the blades of grass, you can see that some of them are actually lighter towards the top. You know, for example, here and here and here. Not all of them have that, but lighter here, and that adds to organic variation. Really wonderfully implemented, but I do have some qualms here with some decisions they made that I suspect they will address these before they launch. So what's neat here, we'll go a little bit further along in the video here. And again, it's this distance. Oh, man. I'm approaching this from 3 different angles: as a developer, as an artist, and then as a gamer, and someone who just enjoys playing games. I can just switch my brain off. I can just turn off as a developer and just enjoy a game. And that's something that very few games really allow me to do that. And Mario Tennis is one of those games where I can just switch my brain off. I don't have to think about it on any deeper level, and I go, oh man, I'm having a blast. This is so much fun. Such a chill experience. Something that is a little bit bothersome to me here is that we can actually see where the 3D models for the grass are no longer rendered. We can see that they are not rendered here, and it's actually very close to the camera, so it's quite noticeable. And what is problematic visually as well is that the grass looks very dull and blurry once we reach this area. And the reason that is occurring is due to a number of different things, and we'll see a couple examples for that. So what we're seeing, the grass is being culled at distance, which is right here. And we have what is texture filtering. Texture filtering allows us to smooth textures when they are at oblique angles or if they are at distance from the viewing camera. I think this should be using more anisotropic filtering. I'm seeing some artifacting here and blurriness if the developers use a higher level of anisotropic filtering, which basically allows you to blend more smoothly between mipmaps and have sharper detail at distance. Now, what a mipmap is, a mipmap, if you say it too many times like the word milk, it starts sounding weird. You know, milk, mipmap. If you say it enough times, it sounds weird and it loses all meaning. A mipmap allows us to use lower resolution versions of textures at distance. Generally, we do this for performance reasons. There's no reason to have higher resolution textures at distance, so we use mipmapping, and that's basically an automated process. Developers don't have to do much, but they can tweak the level of bias for mipmapping. But the mipmaps here are too low resolution, and so we're not getting that nice harsh noisiness that gives it this grassy feel. I think the mipmapping is too aggressive, the filtering is too blurry, and there is not enough anisotropic filtering because it's very blurry here. So it's a combination of that. It's a combination of culling the grass at distance, and it gives it a blurry look. I personally, if I were to be working on a scene like this, because this is the only thing that the player has to look at, there aren't really things in the distance you have to worry about. I personally would increase the drawing distance of the grass, you know, to at least here. And I would adjust the level of detail bias on the mip maps so that we can still get that nice high resolution shadows visible at least to here, you know, at least to here. And then beyond that, you know, maybe that's where you can start blurring it out. So this is not me complaining as a gamer. It's not me, you know, going, oh, the developers should do better. No, that's not the angle that I'm approaching this from. I'm approaching this as a developer. And I don't have a development 2 Switch kit, but I've seen what the Switch 2 can do. And I know that it's not going to be a performance issue to increase the drawing distance of the grass and to adjust the level of detail bias for the mip maps there. Here again, you get another look. You can really see where the grass stops being rendered here. And at a lower camera angle, it's even more visible here. You can see the grass is no longer, the 3D grass is no longer rendered there. But I just really like the way that the grass pokes up through the paint. Again, it gives it organic variation. It's interesting. It gives it a real sense of depth and texture. When I say texture, I'm not saying that from a gaming standpoint. I'm saying from an artistic standpoint, having imperfections in the grass poking up gives it texture. I like this a lot. This is so pleasing to look at, but you can see it's very blurry here in a bit of an unpleasant way, I think. So I would like to see this adjusted a bit more. Something I really like here that has really impressed me, and it seems like it's not a big deal, is this ice. I really like this. It looks so cool. You can see the grass still poking up, and something we see here, we see a bit of reflection on the ice from him as well. It's not just color. I would like to see this, I'm sure, from higher up. If it's at a higher angle, it's going to look really interesting. It's going to catch the light in an interesting way. And the reason why I like this so much and why it impresses me so much is that as a developer, I'm not 100% sure exactly how I would implement this. And it's so impressive because it looks like whatever technique they're doing, it looks like it's affecting the grass as well, because you can still see the grass poking up. So it's not just an overlay. The grass, the color of the grass itself, the 3D models are being affected because you can see little bits of the grass poking up and they are affected by the color. So it's, you know, I would take the easy route. I'd say lay down a quad, right, a plane, and then I would just have a particle shader on that, and then have this be an animated particle effect. You know, let's have a look at how it populates. So it looks like it scales out from there. So we have that ice model scale up from out of the ground. We have a circle shape, and it looks like that is increasing in scale. Oh, it pops. Oh, it's so nice to look at. I'm just gonna have another step-by-step look at that. That is so neat. I really like that. Really cool. I appreciate this way more than I think I should. But see, as it is influencing the grass. The grass is changing color. And as a developer, I don't know how I would implement that. I would do it a much simpler way. What they've done is more complex. It isn't necessary, but the way they've done it, it looks so nice. I'm having a hard time explaining how impressed I am. It's so simple. This is so dumb. This is such a simple effect, and it looks fantastic. It's implemented in such an interesting way, and I know no one's going to care about this. This isn't interesting. This is not interesting to anyone but me, I think, and it's so cool. It's so neat. I like this. They did not need to do it this good, is what I'm saying, and I like it. I'm impressed. I don't actually know how they did that. I would do it in a simpler way. At 57, we see clouds casting blob shadows. This is very common. They are not real shadows. It's just casting a blob, and then you can say that blob is a dark shape, and it's a lighter color than the other real-time shadows. Blob shadows are not really real-time. They're very simple. They're much easier on the rendering budget. They don't cost that much to render, which is why we do it. And it's why we can render blob shadows at distance as well. It makes the distance look more interesting. We're going to see that in other sections of the trailer here. Here you get a close look at the actual ground texture, which is this nice noisy look. Again, it's like a repetition of some sort of pattern, and it has that harsh shadows in it. And we get a good look at the actual polygons for the grass here. Again, some of them are lighter at the top. We can do that by defining vertex colors, so we don't have to process the difference in color real time. We can define the color of the actual vertices of the actual model itself. So I'm not sure exactly what technique they're doing here. There is some sense of wind animation and movement, which is not super noticeable at distance. When up close, it is noticeable. Oh, I like that sort of pixel warping effect. There's so many cool things here. Okay, and here at 103, we have a Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, which is a nice technique. I wonder if you'll only be able to make 1 clone or 1,000 clones. We can go ahead and take a look at some other characters here, which I'm very excited to see the chain chomp here. This is so adorable. Just look at him. Very, very cute, very expressive. You can see he even has quite expressiveness with his animations. He'll sort of flip and twirl the racket around. I like that. I like that a lot. Yoshi has a Pokey racket. Pokey's my dude in Mario Kart. I wouldn't expect to see Pokey in the roster here. Oh, look, there's a little... So, I want to see who else is in the roster here. Oh, Toadette, okay. This looks so fun and expressive, and to me it looks like the developers just had so much fun here. So this is interesting to me. I'm going to get myself out of the way here because there's something I want to look at here. Now take a look at this area here, and what I'm actually going to do is expand this so we can get a closer look, and we're going to see a couple imperfections here and just logical artifacting here. First, let's take a look at the shadows, and we'll notice as we step through this that the shadows are not updating in real time. Have a look at the shadows here. I'll unpause it, and you can see there's a stutteriness to the shadows. They would be doing this for performance reasons, so that the shadows don't need to be updated for every frame. This is something that we see in games like Scarlet, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where the environmental shadows are not updated in real every frame. They're updated, you know, maybe once a second or 2 times a second. You can see the stuttering in the shadows there. It's fascinating. But also, I think it's fine for performance implications because we don't need to see shadows in the stadium all that much. You know, that's not an important part of the game. The important part of the experience is this area here. So let's just have a look at the stutteriness of the shadows. That's fascinating. Now, there's something else I want to point out. With the models here, you will actually see that many of them are actually 2D billboards. So this is leveraging a level of detail system when an object is a certain distance from the camera. Instead of rendering the full quality version of the model, it'll either render a lower quality version of the model or it will use a 2D billboard. And this saves on the rendering budget. It makes it easier for the game to render. But if we watch here, just pay close attention to this area, you'll see the Yoshis here. These Yoshis are actually 2D billboards right now. They're just a flat, pre-rendered picture. And then as we hit the play button here, you're going to see them just pop into their 3D model. They'll snap in. Pay attention to this here. And they popped in. We'll go back a little bit and you'll see them pop in again here. We'll pay attention. You see them pop in, and you can see as we go down the line, these are billboards and they will pop in. Pay attention to this guy here as we play it. He'll pop out of his billboard and go into his 3D model. There we go. And that's just an interesting little quirk that I noticed. Pretty neat. This is not a complaint from me. I'm just noticing this. As a developer, you have to pick out things like this. You have to notice them. And you have, as a developer, you have to make the call. You have to decide whether or not it's worth adjusting that, whether or not it's worth having the level of detail be farther away. As a developer, you need to make the call. You need to make the determination and understand the performance implications. What is going to affect the overall experience for the user, the end user, the gamer? Is this something that's going to negatively affect the end experience? And you need to balance so many different aspects of game development. Is it going to negatively affect the performance of the game? How will players feel about this? And you need to understand that on a deeper level, and you need to make these kinds of decisions is this going to negatively affect or positively affect the end experience? Here you can see kind of high resolution textures for the normal mapping on the ground. And a normal map is something that allows geometry in a game, a model, to have a sense of bumpiness. It defines the bumpiness. You can see that there. Pretty neat. I like seeing that. At 140 here, we get to see a Waluigi pinball, and I'm just enjoying the creativeness and the inventiveness of the environments. And to me, it looks like the developers just had fun. And that to me is what makes me respect a game and a product, is if it looks like the developers really understood what they're creating and they enjoyed the process of what they created, and that these developers have a mastery over their craft and they are pushing themselves to their limit, not just creatively, but in terms of their craft as game developers, their expressiveness, coming up with interesting concepts for gamers. That is what I respect. Oh no. This confirms that he's not going to be a playable character. He's an obstacle. I am genuinely a little bit disappointed. That will be my complaint. This Pokey is not playable. That's basically my only complaint. Here we go, step forward again. I do like the motion controls. I will be playing with motion controls a little bit. You know, I played a lot of the Wii in the past, and I'd like to enjoy the motion controls again. I'll probably turn it off again at some point, though. So something I really like here. Okay, we're seeing Nintendo lean more into tonal differences between Luigi and Mario, and this is not something that I've noticed that much in the past. I don't think it's been this stark of a difference before, but Mario's overalls are very vibrant, whereas Luigi's are more muted. And now I want to go back through other Mario games, and I want to compare and contrast and see if they've had this kind of difference before. But it's great. I'm so glad to see this. From an artistic standpoint, it's great to see more differences between the characters. It makes the characters more immediately identifiable and more unique from each other. So I like seeing Mario have the vibrant blue and then Luigi have the more toned down, more subdued sort of navy there. I really like seeing differences like that. So it's not just a palette swap. Well, you know, originally it was a palette swap, and this is the scene out of Toy Story 3 where everyone's about to die and they've accepted their death and they're just sharing their final moments with their friends. I think that's what that is. Oh, this is Mario Daima. So what happens is the villains wished for Mario and his friends to be kids again, and so Mario has to travel to the demon realm. He has to battle the 3 Tatagamis and gain the 3 Dragon Balls so he can wish himself and his friends to be returned to normal. Now, the statement here is that Mario and his friends are turned into babies. This is fascinating because I think this means that it is confirmed that Waluigi is one of Mario's friends and that he is part of the core group now, Core 5. What is confirmed is that Donkey Kong is not a baby, which means he is not Mario's friends. And you can see this look on his face that he is gutted to receive the revelation that only Mario's friends have been turned into babies. And he's like, wait, what? I'm not turned into a baby? So this means that Donkey Kong is not Mario's friend, which is, I would be so disappointed. That's the look that I would have on my face. Really bummed out. This is actually the mode that I'm looking forward to the most, is the adventure mode. I really hope that there's RPG aspects to this. I think I would describe myself as an RPG tragic. Oh man, I love RPGs. I love other genres that have RPG elements in it. Give me stats, give me leveling up and all that. Now, I just want to explain a little bit something about visual design here and design philosophy. The developers, these are developers that have been making games for a very long time. You can tell by the decisions that they make, not just visually, but the way they compose scenes, the decisions they make as developers. So I want to explain here the composition of this scene. This is a hedge here, and it breaks up the verticality of the level. Instead of just having grass, you know, instead of just making that a green texture, making it flat, it changes the verticality of that so it adds depth and interest to the environment. But behind that, behind the hedges, we have some sort of green, a lower resolution texture. It's lower, for whatever reason, it's lower resolution, it's blurrier. There's no reason for it to really be high resolution texture back there. But when we have that hedge there, we have a visual line. And I've mentioned this a couple times in my previous videos. I refer to this design philosophy as breaking the line. A line is the most boring thing visually, a visual line. For example, like a straight line is so dull, and these developers have the terrain designed in such a way to where there's imperfections to the terrain here, and there's a roundness, and there is the usage of normal mapping to convey a sense of bumpiness in there. So they've broken the visual line here through such a simple way. Really fantastic to do that. And you can see the shadow cast here matches that roundness and bumpiness. Not only does it match Mario's round visual language, the soft visual language, but it breaks the line in an interesting way. What we have here is, without this grass here, you see the patches of the grass. This is such simple geometry. They could have placed this anywhere. A novice artist, a novice developer would just willy-nilly place this grass all over. They would probably place it all over here. This is visual communication to let the player know where they are able to traverse and travel. The brown is used to explain that. Green is used more as intraversable. And what we see here is a placement where they've used this geometry and they've broken up the visual line. So the hedges that are placed here would form a visual line with the ground, and it would look very plain. It's so dull. And so they've specifically used this geometry. They've placed it in such a way to where it breaks up the visual line. So not only is the shadow of the bushes broken up, because the shadows of the bushes are not going to look interesting. There's only so much you can do to make that look interesting. On the ground, it's going to look very dull. So they placed that in such a way to where it breaks the line and it's very interesting. And the developers have done something here that tells me that they do have people on their team who are specialized in art, who very likely have been painting. They're probably painters, at least in the past, or currently people who have a very strong understanding of visual communication. Is that the foliage here that they use to break up the visual line is a lighter tone than the hedges themselves. So it doesn't just blend in. This geometry grass doesn't just blend in with the hedges looking dull. It is a lighter tone, so it adds tonal contrast. Fantastic. This looks so simple. I know this, if you're not an artist, this looks so simple to you. There's basically nothing to it. You think anyone could chuck that together. No, there's significantly so much more going on here from an artistic perspective. And here's the funny thing, if people will gloss right past it. They won't zoom in on it. They won't hone in on it and go, oh, I love this. This is better than the Mona Lisa. People won't do that. But subconsciously, people will see this, and people will just know, even if people are not artists, they'll subconsciously know, this looks nice. They'll know it. They'll understand it. Even if they don't understand why it looks nice, they'll know that it's nice to look at. On top of that, we've broken up the monotony of geometry with these little ferns here that stick out the top. Or not ferns, they're more like, what are they called? The scientific name is escaping me. They've placed those on top of the hedges, so it breaks up the visual line between the hedges and this lower quality, lower resolution texture back here. Oh man, the more that I look at this, the more respect I have for these developers. Fantastic. They've done a wonderful job. Subarashi. Fantastic. Well done. I love the mini games. I want to play this. I want to play this now. Oh my god, that's so adorable. I can't right now. This is so adorable. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just noticed this. He's like a mecha piranha plant, and he's got a little wheelie deal. I love this. This might be my favorite thing from I'm losing my cool a little bit because I like this so much. He's flapping his little arms. I have to look. I've lost my cool. I've entirely lost my composure because I like this so much. It's so cute. And this is nothing. This is nothing. This is so meaningless. Like this is not important. No one's going to care about this, but I love it so much. Oh man, that's adorable. I like that. These modes look fun. I like this. There's something that I really like here. I really like that Bowser is on Mario's team, and it's been consistent theming. This is their sort of, you know, marketing image. But earlier, you know, the first thing we see in this trailer is the same setup. Bowser and Mario versus Peach and Daisy. Very consistent theming. Whoever's choreographed all of this stuff for this particular trailer, whoever's choreographed the marketing, well done. This is a professional, someone with decades of experience. This is someone who's, they've done a brilliant job, whoever's done this. I've worked in PR and marketing in the past, and I'm impressed because I've been in environments where people that were doing work did not put this level of consideration into the marketing. So not only have I appreciated this, you know, from as a gamer and as a developer, as a marketer, as someone who's worked in commercial marketing, I can respect the work they've done here. Is really fantastic, fantastic. I also, oh man, I'm just looking at this. I've worked at commercially in photography as well. Let me get out of here. They've implemented curvature here, so it expresses a sense of a fisheye. Now, a fisheye lens is a lens we use in photography to take images with a very wide angle. We're able to get more of the landscape, but in order to do that photographically, the edges of the image become warped and we have this fisheye effect. It's a rounding of it, and it's actually, depending on how you use it, can be very pleasing. They did not need to do this, but it gives a sense of roundness, of organicness to it, because it makes it feel like they used a camera lens. They did not need to convey a sense of roundness with this fisheye effect. So now I am certain that the people that at least worked on this do have photographic experience. So fantastic. This is so great. I've gone on way too long about this. This looks great. I've honed in on things that super don't matter. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for spending some time with me. Thanks for watching the video. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And I want to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much. If you want to check out some of my games on Switch, you'll see them on screen here. And if you'd like to see some of my other videos, feel free to check them out here. They'll be on screen. Take care of yourselves.